So the PTR was announced last night and it's actually coming today, but you know what that means? All of the stuff has been put on New World Database and the data miners and everybody has been having their little grubby fingers, having a check and seeing what's coming. And there are some huge changes to crafting and I've got to say I'm pretty happy with them. So what I'm going to do is explain what is changing and what you maybe want to do now and maybe what you're going to want to do when the expansion actually hits. So let's jump in and we'll talk about it. So one of the main things that you're going to hear talked about all over the place is going to be the Prismatic Scarab. And the main reason is because this Prismatic Scarab actually uses golden scarabs to craft it. Now that has set prices increasing to an nth degree, right? Prices are going up and people are like, yeah, I need that. Obviously I need that because this Prismatic Scarab is super important. That's how I'm going to get my gear score 700 bis. Well, I don't think it's necessarily as simple as that and I'm going to explain why. There's a few different ways that you can craft. So you have your normal crafting, which is going to be, you know, using your gear score that you've got from your trophies and all that kind of good stuff, right? And this is going to use new material and we're going to come onto the material in a minute. But then there's also different variants of it. So there's one where you can actually pick 2 craft mods with it, which basically means you get to pick your 2 perks. And there's one where you actually get to pick all 3. And of course they spoke about that. It uses the Azov Inductor and it uses the Prismatic Scarab. And basically, they are quite significantly different in how you craft that. So the Azov Inductor, by the way, let's just get that quickly out of the way. You're going to buy that from the faction vendor. You can buy one every 7 days and it costs 25,000 gold and 75,000 tokens. The Prismatic Scarab, as we said, it actually costs 10 golden scarabs and 3 prismatic blocks. That's basically lodestone and runic ore and that kind of stuff. Can't remember the exact name of it off the top of my head, but that's what that is. Now with this, we're not actually getting officially tier 6. Tier 6 is not confirmed. However, it's tier 5, but it might as well be tier 6. So the new metal, for example, is called mithril. The new fibers is called spinweave. We have dark hide for leather, and then it's rune wood for trees. Now, if I show you this, this is where the mithril veins are going to be. Now, of course, there's going to be in New First Light, the Elysian Wilds, but you can see it's sort of dotted around the map as well. I'm sort of blocking the way a little bit with my huge fat head, but you can see actually there's quite a lot in Brimstone. Brimstone's going to be quite important still, but they're dotted around the map. Some more all the way up here in Morningdale as well. But yeah, you can get mithril from not anywhere because you can see it's like really not in the middle of the map, but you can get it from a few different places, so it's not all going to be just in the Elysian Wilds. Now that's the same for the weave, whatever it's called, and for the hide. I think it's pretty much mobs that are above level 63, so I don't know if that's actually going to be the Elysian Wilds only or not, but you know, it makes sense. The wood, I've not actually checked where that spawns, but I think it's everywhere. Anyway, so you would get your new tier 5 mat, which is sort of tier 6 but not called tier 6, and then actually what you would do is you would craft that into an ingot, or you know, you would refine it as normal. But if you look at the ratios are a little bit different from before. It used to sort of be like an 8-to-1 ratio, whereas now it's a 12-to-1 ratio. So you actually need 12 mithril ore and 1 orichalcum ingot to get a mithril ingot. So that's like the new orichalcum, if you will. However, there is a new Asmodium, although because I'm very consistent, I've actually got the prismatic cloth here, but the other one's called prismatic ingot, and you know, and so on and so forth. I think it's prismatic leather. Now to do this, to actually create this, you actually need one of the old legendary mats. So you need 1 phoenix weave or 1 Asmodium, etc., and then you need 10 of the new stuff. So you would need 10 mithril, or in this case 10 spin weave, plus 1 phoenix weave. So Asmodium and stuff like that is still vaguely useful, but it's a 1-to-1 ratio basically. You still need it, but you also need the new stuff as well. Worth pointing out, by the way, that you can craft this every 10 for 24 hours, so basically the same as Asmodium and that kind of stuff. The daily cooldowns are going to be very, very sought after, so if you're a relative casual, then doing these, you will make a lot of gold. Now, let's go back to the crafting for a little bit. So you've got your normal crafting, which will use your normal materials, your normal etc. But there's going to be some variance there. You won't get max gear score 700, and you won't have all the perks. You'll be picking 1. Then there is this here where you will pick 2 perks. Now for this, you actually need 1 golden scarab and 1 chromatic seal, as well as a significant amount of the new map. Now the chromatic seal, that's an interesting one because this actually comes from the faction vendor and it costs 5,000 gold and 20,000 faction tokens. But this one's very interesting because if you read the chromatic seal, then it will actually give you a gear score 700. So this basically guarantees gear score 700 and you pick 2 perks. Now anything crafted over gear score 675 will actually be legendary. So you are going to get 3 perkers, you're just only going to pick 2. And the mats aren't really that bad here. You do need your timeless shards, you do need 1 golden scarab, and you need the chromatic seal. But other than that, it's not that bad. However, the next one, I don't want to say it's bad, but it requires a lot of mats. So this is the one where you craft the absolute most insane bis, right? This is where you get gear score 700. This is where you get to pick all 3 of the craft perks, right? All 3 of the craft mods. And do you know what it requires? Yeah, you require your insignias and your timeless shards. You also require one of the prismatic scarabs, which is, remember, is 10 golden scarabs plus extra. You also have the Azoth inductor, which you actually can craft once per, you can buy once per 7 days. But look at the insane amount of materials you need here. So this is for a chest, and for this chest, you need 440 of the new material. So to put it in perspective, that's like needing 440 Asmodeum. That is an insane amount of materials that you need. And of course, you'll need the leathers as well, all in the new material. So keep in mind, you can do 10 a day. So if you were to solo craft these, it's going to take you 44 days to get that. And that's just to craft 1 item. However, it is bis, right? It's literally bis. You pick the 3 perks. It's all good. It's gear score 700. Complete bis. I believe that applies to weapons and everything as well. I think that's just crafting wholesale. I've not gone through every single like crafted thing, but I believe this is the system that is going ahead in the expansion. So I made myself a little bit of a notepad to sort of like highlight this. Just to reiterate, a prismatic scarab is 10 golden scarabs. For the prismatic block, you need runestone and runic void stone, which you actually get by using lodestone, so lodestone is going to be relevant. The prismatic material, these are like your new cloths and your stuff like that. That needs one of the old materials plus some of the new stuff. I think I said 5. I think it's 5, not 100% sure. And you can craft 10 per day. So then you've got your bis craft, which uses all of this. And then you've got your sort of not bis, but it is 700 gear score. It is legendary and you do pick 2 perks. However, there will be a 3rd random perk. I think the 3rd random perk is actually more likely to be refreshing. There are weapon perks and stuff like that on there, but you know what I mean. And for that, you just need the seal and then some sort of low level mats. Well, not low level mats, but less of them. For me, I think the bottleneck here, or the ones that are not the bottleneck and the ones that are overrated, I think scarabs, I think the price of them are too high. Now, of course, the war companies will be absolutely buying a shed ton of them. I think for most normal humans, most normal players, you should farm these and then go out and sell them to the war players. I also think that Asmodeum and Runic and Phoenix Leaf, like you can do these at the same rate that you can do the normal prismatic stuff. So I don't think they're necessarily going to be insane demand. However, it is worth noting they are used in some other stuff like this spore jug jelly, which I'm not going to go into too much right now because I don't really know what it is and why it is. I also think runestone, by the way, is a little bit overrated right now because I think the amount that you need won't be that high. The absolute insane gold makers, though, once you come to the expansion, will simply be the daily cooldowns. That's going to be crazy. And anybody who can just, you know, no life farm. If you can farm the mithril, the spinweed, the dark hide, the runewood, etc., then you're going to have a great time. You're going to make a lot of gold. Now, a couple little questions. Gypsum is staying. It's actually used in quite a few things, but it's actually used in the heart runes. So they're going up to gear score 700. There's going to be some new potions, which actually require 3 of the previous ones. So not really like a new tier in that sense. There is some faction specific clothing. Now there's basically 1 piece in the faction vendor. So there's a marauder one that increases your weaponsmith. Instead of it being 2+, it's 5. I can't remember what, if it's a helm or what have you. I can't remember. There's syndicate one that increases arcana. It's the same for the arcana. And for the covenant, there's 1 item that gives you 10% chance of extra material. I don't think you're going to need this, but it's just worth noting. It's also worth noting that on some named items and artifact items, there is actually a random perk, and you are going to be able to change it using something called dark matter. I think you get dark matter from salvaging, but you know, jury's out exactly on how common that will be. But it's worth noting that you can actually change the perk only on the name stuff. So if you craft something and you don't like one of the perks, you're stuck. The flail, by the way, is crafted at the Arcana station for anybody interested in that. And it's now been confirmed, by the way, or at least it definitely looks like this, that shields have no attributes, just perks. So now you don't have to worry about that as much. You know, you can actually probably try it without the shield if you really want, and you actually get a bonus, which maybe the flail does, maybe it doesn't. We'll have to wait and see. Ignore my terrible spelling, it's just because I was rushing, right? We're doing this on stream. Speaking about streaming, I'm streaming right now. The PTR is actually going to be going live in a couple of hours. Let's go. If you want to come and watch, there'll be a link, you know, probably on the screen and in the description. To confirm, there is also some new harvesting gear. Now, it looks like you can only get this stuff when you get it from Aptitude and you craft it yourself, but you can see it's gear score 700. There's no new crafting stuff, apart from the ones from the faction vendor. You're not going to need the armor's pants or anything like that. That's not a thing, you don't need that. Well, I mean, you might need the original one, but you don't need new stuff. Also worth noting that there's a new tier of bags. We don't actually know how strong these will be, but there's a new Grand Rune of Holding. Although I think there's a new one in the faction, but I don't know if that's the name of it. And there will be some new tools as well. Again, we're not 100% sure what benefit these have. Presumably it's just higher percentages. And again, you don't necessarily need... There's no tier 6, you're just using tier 5, but it's like the new tier 5. But that's all effectively now confirmed. It's all a little bit weird, but the reason I wanted to just show you this, making it in this format, is because once we actually hit the PTR, there's a good chance that we're going to be level 60. I don't think they're going to give us like a level 65. So by the time you actually get all the materials to craft and to show it, we might be like a few days into this, and you know what? The PTR is actually only going to be live for like 6-7 days. We might never get there to show you, and people are sort of asking, they're a little bit confused by the systems. Hopefully this video sort of explains it. You have your normal traditional crafting, then you have this sort of like seal that's going to give you pretty much bis, and what I think will be like the 2-perk bis, if you will. You'll pick your 2 perks, you'll get your gear score 700, you'll craft that. Most normal people will be in that. And then the sort of long-term goal will be to pick the actual 3 bis perk stuff, and that costs a lot of materials, that's going to cost a lot of gold, a lot of time and a lot of effort. And you know what? I'm sort of happy with that. That's what we were all asking for, to my knowledge, so I'm pretty happy with the way that's working. Hopefully I sort of explained that decent enough. As I said, I'm streaming live on Twitch. Come over and say hi if you want. We're going to be streaming all day, and then we're going to be streaming all day tomorrow, and then so on and so forth. So let's go. Other than that though, I hope you have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.